This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.
"24/7 Buff Fandemonium. What is up? I am Swank, the host of the K-Gun Report, back after 2 week absence. I was in Nashville. It was a great time. It was a really good time. But tonight's show, oh man, it's going to be a barn burner. We got ex-Buffalo Bill wide receiver, Mr. Brad Lamb. We're lucky enough to have him joining us and weighing in on wide receivers and hopefully getting a couple stories from the old days and all that good stuff. We're going to talk about the ridiculous price that the Ravens paid played for OBJ. And I don't know, we're going to have a lot of fun talking about free agency, all sorts of stuff. Come on along. It's the K-Gun. Yo, here we are on another Tuesday night, 24/7 Buff Fandemonium, the K-Gun Report, Season 4, Episode 5, if you can believe it. Right down here below me on your screen, Mr. Brad Lamb, ex-Buffalo Bill, NFL wide receiver. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, sir. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Excited to be on.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Thanks so much for being a part. Right up here to my right and your left is Mr. Scooter Magooter. What's up, Scott?
What's up, Bills Mafia, Finger Lakes Mafia? Glad to be back. 2 weeks is way too long, Swank. I know you had a lot going on, but I'm glad you're back. Everything is okay, and you had a good vacation. Love to be back here, guys. Go Bills.
Yeah, I was down in Nashville. It was a good time. Saw a lot of music. Had a little bit of bourbon. It was a good time. Yeah. Diagonal from me, I think. Oh, I got it. Right down there. Mr. Jerry, look at that blue wall he's got behind him. Look at him. Oh, nice. Nice shirt.
Got the shirt from the wife for a little Easter gift.
Oh,
She went to Baby Gap for that one.
It is taut. It is a taut shirt. I just tried it on right before we got on here. It's a taut shirt, but it has the K-Gun on it. Glad to be back talking Bills football when it's kind of a slow time of year. And Mr. Brad Lamb, thanks for coming on. Let's talk a little bit about these Buffalo Bills.
yes, sir. Real quick, weighing in, we got our boy Patrick Hughes saying, "What's up, fellas? What's up, Patrick?" We got the beautiful Ellen Lartz saying, "Yo, everybody, hello to my old friend, Brad Lamb." You know Ellen, Brad?
I'm sorry?
Do you know Ellen Lartz?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's a...
Hello.
Ellen Lartz knows everybody, I swear.
Hey, she does, man. She absolutely does. We got our boy Rob Mullen saying, hey, he is an exclusive contributor to 24/7 BuffFandemonium.com. You can see all sorts of great articles. He's doing a bunch of great draft profiles over there, so check that out. We got Scott Reed saying, "Welcome back, everyone." Scott, come on. Johns, what's up, buddy? Oh, yeah. A lot of welcome backs. We got Dr. Bruce. Thanks, man. Welcome back. Frank Mullen. Thanks, man. Lots of well wishes. Thanks, guys. It's good to be back, man. I was missing you guys. Absolutely. And I was excited for this
Swank,
show.
like you were just mentioning with Dr. Bruce and
Rob
Mullen there. Yep, Rob. We do have a webpage, 24/7 Buff Fandemonium. It's a nice little website. We do have a lot of stuff to offer on that page, merch, and we do a lot of blogs with the draft profiles, as you mentioned. So be sure to hit that up if you guys have a minute. It's a pretty sweet site.
Yeah, and Dr. Bruce just put out a really sweet article about the Heat.
Yep.
The Heat down in Miami. So check that out. It's a good time. Mr. Brad Lamb.
Yes, sir.
So good to have you here to chat. I believe we've had one of the players from the class that you got drafted in on this show multiple times, Mr. Mark Maddox.
Oh, yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
Love Mark.
Yeah, he's a great dude. And I'm definitely going to be busting on him about how we've had you on the show and you went before him in the draft, correct?
I went 8th round. I'm not sure what round Mark went in.
Yeah, I just looked it up before the show because I thought it was really cool that you guys went in the same draft. But tell us a little bit about Buffalo and your experience up here.
Oh man, Buffalo! I can't say enough good things about Buffalo, Bills Mafia, just the town in general. My wife and I, love the area, love playing there. When I left Buffalo, I went to Green Bay, but like I can say, there's nothing like Buffalo. We would love to call that home forever, but all the family and my mom and dad, my brothers, and all that were back in Ohio. So it was all said and done. We ended up moving back.
Very cool. Yeah, he was saying before the show that he was saying if not for family, you'd be in Buffalo still, which is that's a big nod to the city, man. So after Buffalo, you went to Green Bay, and what'd you say about Green Bay? It wasn't quite up to snuff or something?
Not compared to Buffalo. And it was Buffalo was it was more just like a family. I mean, to me and my wife, we just felt at home there, around just everybody. Made us feel welcome, out on the town, shopping, whatever it might be. You just felt like you're home, and coming back same way. I mean, you get treated, like you never left. And that's what I love about it. And I don't get up there as much as I'd like to, but every chance I get, and we head that way.
Very
Very
cool.
cool. Very cool. I have one question for Brad, guys, before we really get started.
Sure.
I know you had a knee injury in '95, right? Is that when you called it quits, the career?
Yeah, I did.
So were you able to catch any balls from Brett Favre?
Not in an actual game, but in practice I did. So.
Okay, so here's my question, because I'm a huge Jim Kelly fan and I'm a huge Brett Favre fan. And you will answer so many of my questions just by answering this one. If you were to run a hitch route, an 8-yard hitch route for 7 yards for the first down, who was throwing you that ball? Jim Kelly or Brett Favre?
Jim Kelly.
Okay.
Yep.
That means he had the accuracy, he had the arm strength, he had the nice tight spiral. That answers a lot of questions for me. All right. I love them both. Very good. That's all I wanted.
My relationship with Jim, I think, to me, it was special because I felt like coming in from a small school like I did into that level, he kind of took me under his wing, and tried to help me. And I'll never forget that. And I'm forever in his debt for that. And I love the guy.
Very cool. Being around in those 90 era locker rooms and everything, what was the atmosphere like here? It had to be like so electric.
Oh, it was. It was. It was great. You hear all kinds of different stories, but for me, I feel like we're one of the tightest groups there are in football. We were like family, enjoyed each other's company outside the locker room, not just in the locker room. Still stay in contact with the guys. I know Jim. He's given me his personal cell phone, so I can still contact him occasionally. I don't bombard him. I know everybody's busy, but
yeah,
stay in contact with each other. Let them know we're thinking about when they're going through issues and things like that. And happy for them when they succeed, in other areas and things like that. So just a great family.
Very cool. We got Rob Mullen, our resident expert, weighing in. He wanted to ask you the one aspect where Jim Kelly stood out in his era of QBs is the fact that he was by far the most accurate deep ball thrower in the league. He says, Brad, can you back this up?
Absolutely. I can back it up. And I can go to a game in 1992 against the Raiders when Jim hit me on a go route for about 54 or 57 yards right on it. And I think he was on the 3 when he threw it. So, it was sweet. It's out there. So I can attest to that.
You can actually look that up on YouTube too. It's a nice ball. I saw it. It's beautiful. Nice ball. Nice catch.
It was 3rd and 17. The running game wasn't working. And Brad, you just took off like a bat out of hell. Pardon my language. There was no moves. It was just running as fast as you can. So I got to ask, you burned that corner. You did. You had him beat. What's your 40 time? And I know you ran track. I ran track too. 100-meter dash. What's your fastest 100-meter dash? Sorry, guys. I got these questions coming up.
Go ahead.
A funny story for you if you guys got time for me to share it.
Oh, absolutely.
Fire away.
Best 100 time was a 10.3. I ran a 4.26. 40-yard was my best time. I was with the combine, and my track coach was actually out there with me when he was timing it. And he looked at my track coach and he looked at me and said, I can't write that down. So he made me run 3 more, and I ran a 4.31 and a 4.34. So the 4.26 never got put. He said, nobody's going to believe me.
I believe you.
I believe you because I attend. Yeah, that all adds up. And you flew down that field. I mean, it was no slub that you were going against there, and you just had him on his back heel. So I looked at it. I was like, he's a 4.3 guy, isn't he? Yeah, fast guy. Yeah.
They played.
I'm gonna add this too. I'm assuming that 10.3 that you ran on the 100-meter dash was on a cinder track and not the stuff that they have now.
No, it was actually down in Indianapolis. It was an all-weather track they had down there.
Oh,
It was pretty nice.
We're
But
not supposed to call our ex players old, Jared, but you just went ahead and did it.
Well, I say that because Scott, you ran on a cinder track. You ran a 10.9 on a cinder track. I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
10-9.
stupid.
It was
That's
downhill. It was downhill with the wind at my back, though. So
best day ever.
best day ever.
Alan says
Uh,
Brad was just as fast as Don Beebe back in the day. I'd say even faster.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
let me put it this way. On paper, Don had ran a 4.24. So on paper, he was faster. That was one of the questions I got when I first got drafted. When I went and spoke at different events and things, they would ask me, which one's faster? And Don and I never right, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Not one.
Speed recognizes speed. That's the end of the day.
Yeah. We respected each other. Didn't feel like we had to do it.
That's awesome. Well, we were talking a little bit before we came on too, a little bit about the big news that broke over the last couple of days here. Mr. Odell Beckham Jr., somebody that a lot of Bills Mafia thought might be coming to Buffalo. A lot of people thought maybe we could get him for a discounted prove it deal kind of thing. It didn't really end up, I think, how anybody thought. 1 year, $18 million to the Baltimore Ravens, who have a big question mark at the quarterback position right now. OBJ reportedly wanted multiple years. I don't know. This whole thing just seems crazy to me. But Brad, what are your thoughts on something like this? A megastar who had obviously some injuries and was kind of shopping himself around and then got injured in the Super Bowl, could have been the MVP. Now he lands in Baltimore. What are your thoughts?
I think good for him to get 18 million.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something right on that aspect. But it's one of those things that I think you're right. If he would have been at a discounted price, where maybe prove it a year to Buffalo, and maybe have an add on after that, I think there would have been a chance for maybe him coming. But the fact that he was wanting the kind of money he wants, and arguably you could say deserves or doesn't deserve. I mean, obviously his history and what he's done, he's one of the best players to play, and he's a great athlete. But I think you just got to throw in the back of your mind the injury, and when you're paying that kind of money, especially where Buffalo's at right now, if they're going to go for a receiver, they better go with one that they know for a fact, is going to be somebody to contribute right away, and not going to go down the stretch, get injured again, or might have a possible chance of injuring something that he's already injured. And so OBJ is not. I'm trying to be. I guess is not as young as he used to be, and so he's not necessarily maybe kind of towards the end of the prime. I guess I would look at it in that regard. So I think Buffalo did a lot of risk, to take him and at that kind of pay. But I think it would have been a good opportunity to get him at a discount. That would be worth a chance. But I heard and I read, and I'm not sure if this is true, that he actually gave the Jets the right to match his offer in Baltimore. And I guess the Jets decided not to. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that was something I thought I'd read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I saw an old report, like old as in 2 days before he signed with the Ravens, that he was scheduled to also visit the Jets, and Baltimore must have just corralled him and not let him leave, basically. But yeah, that'd be interesting because I don't know what they're doing in New Jersey right now. Another situation where they're throwing a bunch of money at a bunch of wide receivers when they had a pretty good nucleus there, minus the quarterback, and waiting on Aaron Rodgers, or really, I guess, Green Bay, to kind of make that decision on what they want for compensation. But
Well, OBJ was one of those wide receivers that Rodgers had on his list to come to New York.
Yeah.
So be interesting.
Very interesting.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers is going to go to Baltimore.
I'll tell you what, Swank, and this is why I'm confused by this, because it's a 1-year deal. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Greg Roman is no longer the coach there, so they're bringing in offensive coordinator. So they're bringing in a new offensive coordinator, which leads me to believe that's why Lamar Jackson probably is having a hard time signing, because that offense is going to look different. They brought in Aguilar and all that stuff, so it looks like they might try to pass the ball, but who's going to pass them the ball? And are you going to learn a completely different offense, that one that's been run for the last 6-7 years? It's going to look totally different. Now you're going to throw $15 million at someone to be your number one wide receiver at 31 years old.
After
I
two
don't
big
know how much cap-
injuries. Yeah.
I don't know how much cap they have, but when I saw him doing his lunges with weight on his shoulders, that knee, they do that one test where they pull the knee to make sure the ACL, MCL, all that stuff is tight. It still looked loose. Even when he went down, you see the knee shift a little bit. So I don't know what these guys are looking at. And he had to have passed the test in order to get paid. So I don't know what Baltimore's doing. I don't know what they're doing, but it looks like they're just trying to reach and say, now we have wide receivers. Who wants to play quarterback here?
Yeah, I mean, I thank Baltimore for what they did for picking him up and getting him out of our hair. That's just one less thing us crazy Bills fans can talk about is OBJ. He's had two. I don't know if he's had two ACL injuries. I don't know if they're on each leg or the same leg, but that's a huge factor, Brad. Like you mentioned, the injuries are huge, and the fact that he's had two of those injuries in the last 3 years that's an awfully big risk to pay him that money for those injuries. And Jerry Jones even passed on him. Jerry Jones likes to bring those big guys, those big attention getter guys to his team, and he passed on him last year. So,
Well,
who knows?
That he has at his position, being able to cut and get out of his breaks and, things of that nature, which I think, honestly, Gabe Davis had a little bit of issue with his high ankle sprain. If that was bothering him all year, I understand maybe he wasn't getting the separation that he needed because, maybe kudos to him and maybe we give him a hard time. But if he battled through that, that's not an easy injury to battle through, to be honest with you. And, hopefully that if that was the case and he gets back to 100%, then, maybe he can become that true number 2 that we thought he was going to be this last year.
And I think his expectation is what kind of weighed him down. I mean, his numbers were almost identical to last year, but I think the Mafia was so excited and expected so much more out of him. But as you're aware, Brad, that's a lot of torque on your high ankle when you're doing those quick outs, those drags, those comebacks, all that. I mean, changing position to try to outsmart that defensive back, that's a lot of torque on those bones and those ligaments. And that injury is not just going to disappear.
But it's the quickness of coming out of that to get your separation that
Yep.
because you just don't have the strength or there's pain there, whether it's you feel the pain right where your body's just compensating for it automatically. You don't get, 110th of a second. It's a lot in this league,
Yep.
and when you lose that little bit, you lose your edge.
We got Dr. Bruce saying that he agrees too much money for somebody who hasn't played a full season in 3 years. Great point, Dr. Bruce. We had Patrick Hughes asking Brad, and I don't know if you have a take on this. He wants to know if the Bills were to take a wide receiver in the draft, I'm assuming in the first round, is there somebody that's caught your eye out of this class? And if not, Scott's kind of right.
It looked at several guys. I would think the one that may have a possibility of getting to that point, maybe Addison, which I really like. I don't know if when they draft, if he falls that far down, I think they're going to take him. I really do. Or they should, in my opinion. But that's who I like that I think could possibly, be on the board for us if the chips fall right. He would probably be the one that, if I was looking at picking somebody in the first round, he'd probably be my guy.
Nice.
And I would have to assume that if they drafted him, it would be a draft, develop, resign kind of guy, because I don't see them putting him in front of. And I agree, Brad. I think a wide receiver definitely could be a position at 27. They could get Addison, Flowers if Jackson's available, definitely. And those are guys that will make an impact on your team. But if you do go a wide receiver, and if Gabriel Davis does come off that high ankle sprain and he's better, they're going to be competing. We all talk about that iron sharpens iron. This may be, again, draft, develop, re-sign somewhere down the road, because a lot of our other wide receivers coming in, I think we only have 3 guys in 2024. So this guy will be immediate impact next year. They just have to develop him. And that's what Bills fans have become accustomed to, is not having those guys starting right away. I would love that pickup. If he's there, oh yeah, for sure.
Probably, hopefully they'll, I think we'll probably, and I could be wrong, more at the linebacker position. I'm not really seeing that addressed with our man gone, but, I would think if they don't have the receiver that they really, really love, then I think they're probably going to try to get that middle linebacker position filled. So we'll see. And there's offensive line too. You could go both ways there and say which one's more important. I like to think that we got a lot of great wide receivers. I believe. I like Shakir, the young kid, man. To me, he excites me. I'm a big fan of his. I think he can fill that void in there real well. I think he'll have a big jump this year. So I think Josh has got to either have a little more time to throw the ball, and our run blocking's got to get better.
I agree 100%. I love Shakir. I think with Isaiah McKenzie exiting, that's going to open up a lot more room for Shakir. And I also think, to your point about Gabe Davis, if he was hindered by that high ankle the whole season, he still put up better numbers than he did the season before. I mean, I know the touchdown catches and all that stuff and the highlight reel, maybe it didn't look as extravagant as it did the season before, but this guy is motivated, and I think he's working his ass off to get here and to prove himself this year, and to make all the people that wanted OBJ or DeAndre Hopkins second guess anything that they want to say about him. So I'm hoping that Gabe has a big bounce back here.
Yeah, he's a big target too.
Yeah.
I like big targets. That quarterbacks like that too. So, that's nice to have, some size out there.
Absolutely. Let's see here. We got Rob Mullen had a question for you. It's the same question that you asked Mark a couple episodes ago. He said, is there a player on the current roster that reminds you of a Bills teammate that you played with, and why?
Well, yeah, I would say Josh Allen and Jim Kelly. And the reason I say that is, I would run through a wall for Jim. The kind of guy he was, the leader he was. I knew he was out there to win. That's what he wanted to do. Whatever he had to do, he was going to do to help us win a football game, and you could respect him for that. I would tell people sometimes even at a fault, he could be hurt. He just wasn't going to come out of the game, even if he wasn't playing as well as maybe the backup could actually play at that moment. He just didn't want to come out of the game because he felt the best guy to do it. But so I think that, and I think Josh is kind of saying, well, Josh wants to win, and he's still maturing. I mean, he's still young if you think about it. I mean, the guy's not that old at all in the league here for us, and he's still maturing as well. But he looks like the kind of guy that if I was a wide receiver, I'd run through a brick wall for too. So I think that similarity to me really stands out.
I love to hear that. I don't know how you guys feel, but oh man, I love it.
Takes me back to my 90s feels. It definitely does.
Absolutely.
Well, Kelly was my guy. So anytime anybody could say that our current situation reminds, oh, thanks, Brad, that it makes you feel good. And the other 52 people on that roster are thinking the same thing. As fans, if you've seen that, Brad, then yeah, we can take that as it is, and I believe you, and I love that.
We had glimpses early when he jumped bar from Minnesota. There, we had glimpses early that he would run through a wall for his teammates, and vice versa. So it was shown to us early that Josh Allen was Jim Kelly-esque type quarterback for us.
Yeah. Yep, franchise quarterback. Finally, you sit here and you wait for a while, and it's like, he's got all those intangibles, and like I said, if we can get our running game with our blocking up front, take a little bit of guessing off of that. The defense can't just key on everything all the time, and just get a decent running game going and we got some good backs still. I mean, I think we got some good backs now. Can we add another big back to there? Probably, but I think if our line will work up there and get the job done, that's going to help us a ton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see them pad offensive line. It's kind of like the Brady effect. I think that what the Patriots did, constantly picking up offensive linemen and drafting offensive linemen and making sure that Tom Brady had the time that he needed back there. And I think that's kind of what we need to do in Buffalo.
Yeah. You think about those linemen we had back then with Kent Hall and Will Wolford and Howard Ballard, the house, and Dave, I'm drawing a blank now, but the guys that we had on there, Pete Metzar's our tight end, we had a great offensive line, and which obviously allowed Thurman to do his thing and opened up in the passing game as well. So it was a good 1-2 punch there that we had. And I think that if there's anything we're missing, I feel like that's what it is right now. Is just going either way. We can run or throw the ball. That's what we need to be able to do now.
What drives me crazy, Brad, is that none of your offensive linemen between the years 89 and 95 are even considered in the Hall of Fame right now. I think Jared has pushed towards that. The Kent Hall, the Will Wolfords, the John Davises, Horace Ballard, Finas. I mean, those guys took Glenn Parker. They took you to 4 Super Bowls in a row, and not one of them has yet been considered for the Hall of Fame.
They blocked for a 3,000 back in the day. 3,000 was the yardage for a quarterback to get. Jim Kelly hit 3,000 multiple times with that line. Thurman Thomas hit 1,100 yards rushing every year with that line. This line is the legit 5 that has been together for a very long time, and none of them are being represented in the Hall of Fame, and that's a crying shame.
It is. I agree. That's I've seen. I mean, love that guy.
Yeah. We got our buddy Joshua Williams in the comments saying better late than never. Hey, let's go Buffalo. What's up, Josh? We got Buffalo Spartan. This is Sparta. Our super fan concierge, the best of the super fans. Well, we love all of them, but he's our boy, so we got to give him a little bit of props over here. What's up, Buffalo Spartan?
Spartan, I have my notes.
Alan
got made fun of last year.
Alan says Brad knows better than anyone that Josh Allen plays like Jim Kelly did. I would agree with you right now, Alan, for sure. Let's see. Patrick says, Brad, who was the most underrated player that you played with?
Oh, that I played with most. Man, that's a tough one.
Heavy.
Yeah. Yeah,
you can pass. We're just glad you're here. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah.
Let me think about that for a minute.
Sure.
I don't. The most underrated guy. Maybe Marcus Patton would be one of them.
Linebacker. Yeah.
Marcus Patton. Yeah.
He might have been one. The guy had a physique. He could probably went and been Mr. Atlas. I mean, that guy was cut like a rock, but he was a great player. Man, I'm not sure. I have to think a little bit more about that. But he would probably be one of them.
Fandemonium's throwing out some names here. Jamie Mueller.
And I didn't. Jamie.
Oh, okay. Kenneth Davis. Doug says. Keith McKellar.
Okay, yeah. A-gun, the whole thing behind it. You know. Kenny Davis, yeah. I mean, I guess I didn't look at his because he got he did his thing every time. You didn't miss a beat when he came in. It was like 1-2 between him and Thurman. And Kenny Davis would drink about 12 cups of coffee, black coffee, before he'd ever walk out on the football field.
So he was a coffee drinker, huh? That's crazy.
I'm telling you. Oh, he was funny. Wow.
That's a hard question also because the team was so talented that your average player would still be looked at as not getting much attention because the talent that was surrounding them. So any player that came in and the Buffalo Bills didn't miss a beat when they came in, that's just right there, And
depth everywhere. I mean, I look at it and I not to pat myself on the back, but here I played with 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers already in the Hall of Fame with Andre Reed and and James Lofton and Tasker's a special team, but he also played receiver for us as well, who might not go in as a receiver, but he should be in there for special teams work, I think.
100%.
So there was a lot of guys I think that got limited playing time but players were good.
Well, speaking of not skipping a beat, I one of the highlights I saw looking you up there, Brad, was a reverse play AFC Championship game against Miami Dolphins. Now, I think there's a backstory behind it because Andre Reed was supposed to be in there, correct? Can you tell us, is that true? And you were in there?
It was true. Andre was supposed to be in the slot. I went in to give him a break. He was tired. I don't know if something happened. I went in to play, and then they called it and they handed it to me. And I can't remember who it was. If it was March or Broad or one of them there that was calling the plays at that time. Said, didn't realize he thought Andre was in there and he called it for him to do the reverse. The best of every opportunity I got.
Oh, yeah. You got 20 yards on that, didn't you, or something like that?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, and I blame my lineman down there that missed that one blocker. I should have been able to take it all the way.
Well, Brad, they were thinking 4.26. You could have handled it, but you know,
He's not by me yet.
he ain't by me yet.
Watch, hey, the guy nails me because I don't see him. My lineman was cut his angle off from me, so I went around the corner. I didn't see him, and he let me up. The ball went flying, but I was going out of bounds.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw it go out of bounds. Yeah.
Wow. Hey, man,
A lot of fun.
got to make the most out of your opportunities. Absolutely. I love that.
I tell you, my son's is a wide receiver for UNC Charlotte here. He was a redshirted freshman last year, so I told him, I said, right now, son, so whatever you can do, whether it's special teams or whatever, when you get your opportunity, you just got to make the best of it.
Oh yeah,
That's the truth. That's the truth.
I mean, teams, NFL teams, there's 32 of them, and if they can get 5 to 6 to 7 people on their roster that specializes in special teams, he's got a job. And
Yeah.
so if you can become really good at lane responsibility, getting down the field, making the tackle when you have to, bada bing.
Make a
Yeah.
career out of it.
Yeah.
Terrell Davis, I always say this. Terrell Davis started his career off on the special teams, went down, put his helmet on somebody, pretty much made him go parallel. He's a Hall of Fame running back now. So it all started on special teams. He got noticed, and bam, look at that.
Well, if you think about it, what I like about it is its attitude. I'll do whatever I have to do. I don't be the star here. Whatever the team needs, I'm gonna go out there and do it. And to me, that's what makes a great teammate and a great player, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Whatever I got to do this team to help us win.
Those special teamers are scary too. I mean, I remember seeing like Mike Pike run down and just label people, and he was a big dude, and he made his career on special teams, putting his helmet on people. So
He did.
attitude.
And then of course I played right beside. I was one of the other gunners. Some of the times with Steve on the punt, team. So of course I never got to make any tackles because he's already.
That amoeba.
Yeah, he was amazing. Another great man. I love him and his family. My wife, we still stay in touch, and my wife loves his wife and family, and just a great bunch of people.
That's awesome. Let's see here. Chris Christian. What's up, Chris? How you doing, buddy? He
What's
says,
up, guys?
Brad, any good Frank Reich stories or memories?
Well, of course, the greatest comeback.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
No idea what that's about. Can you tell us about that real quick?
5 million people came to that game.
Yeah, it might not have been Frank's story. It's more of a Steve Christie story because we came in at halftime when we were getting blown out like we were, and Steve Christie's, his locker was right beside mine, so we're sitting there in the locker room. We looked at each other like, man, it's going to be a miracle if we win this game.
Bam.
And the main thing in the locker room, it was just, as far as a meeting with the players, it was just, let's go out and not get embarrassed. Let's go out there and let's finish the game.
Right.
And Frank's determination, preparation, it all fell right into place. And, I like to believe the whole thing. God had a plan for it. It worked out. And, we were a part of history there and still a part of it, even though in regular season, we had a comeback that was better than ours, but not in playoffs.
Right. And Frank Reich can double up because he has, I think, one of the best comebacks in college history too.
Yeah. Sure.
He played for Maryland. He played for Maryland. Had one of the top comebacks. Yep.
Now he's the head coach down here where I'm at with the Panthers.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wherever he goes, I'm going to root for him because he's awesome. I love Frank Reich.
Yeah.
Is he getting his own quarterback there? You think being a quarterback guy and now he's the head coach? Are they going drafting a quarterback?
Yeah, they're going to draft a quarterback. I think he'll have his say. I think they'll get who he wants. I think that's what's going to happen because to me, it's he's going to say, you didn't let me. Same thing happened in Indianapolis. I never got to get a quarterback down here. You never let me finally get what I needed. So I think that was one of his probably prerequisites, even in an interview, and was saying, listen, I mean, you got to give me a guy or let me get the guy I want that I can develop. And with him being an NFL, who better to know which one he wants?
Yeah,
He thinks
right.
hold the best for the offense that he wants to run. So I think if they're smart, they'll let him pick the guy he wants.
And I think they have someone on their roster, their second string quarterback, Matt Corral, that was picked up in the third round last year. Third round quarterback. It'll be interesting to see if Frank Wright can get enough information from watching him to decide whether or not he's a guy that maybe he wants to use. Or, I mean, that's heck of trade bait, a guy that hasn't proven himself yet because he's been a backup learning the system. I mean, he's taken in the third round. You can get a fourth or fifth round, I think, for him to help Frank Wright out a little bit. I agree with you. I think he's got to go get the quarterback he wants. That's the only way to make sense of it, bringing in a head coach like that.
And he got those extra draft picks from Cal too. So I mean, they've got a little bit of extra room there to draft capital, which they obviously used to move up into that first round position. But they didn't lose as much as you would think because they already had a little extra draft capital, from that McCaffrey trade with the 49ers.
Right. They got DJ Chark, Adam Thielen. So whatever quarterback's coming in is going to have a hell of a time throwing it to them.
Got that right. I love Adam. I mean, the guy's just a class act and gets open.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he was on my wish list. He might have been on my wish list.
I was right there with you.
You guys are scribbling it out.
How would you think Diggs would have handled that conversation?
I think he would have loved it.
I agree.
What's that?
I think he would have loved it. Being paired back with Thielen again.
They got along, didn't they, when they were in Minnesota?
Oh, yeah. He didn't have any beef with him. He just had the beef with not running the ball so much, I think.
Yeah, I think it was kind of blown out of proportion too, right? Like there was a bunch of reports coming out later that like he really wasn't the bad teammate that everybody was kind of alluding to, and then they were trying to shade him a little bit because they were embarrassed. But I don't know. I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, they want to win, and do they always handle it the right way? No. Do any of us handle things always the right way? No.
Mm-hmm.
Give a little bit of slack there in some of those areas, and he was in the playoffs, so I know how it felt losing the Super Bowl, and what it felt like then. So, you give him a little bit of grace there, some leeway. I mean, the guy, he's a competitor, man. He wants to win. He wants to win a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Fault him for that.
Well, we've said on this show before, I mean, I'd rather have that guy on my team than the guy that was like, well,
I'll never be a next time.
Exactly.
Get it when you can.
Yeah. That's the truth. We got Mike V. What's up, Mike V? How you doing, buddy? Oh, let's see what else here. There was a couple questions. Sorry. If you're just joining us, we got ex-Buffalo Bills wide receiver Mr. Brad Lamb gracing us with his presence tonight on the K-Gun Report. We're also sponsored by 26 Shirts. Right up there. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one right there. Go check out 26shirts.com. They do great T-shirts for a plethora of charities. Del Reed, all the guys over there doing great things. And of course, super stoked for our second season on Buff Fan Base right here with you guys. So thank you for all the support.
So Brad,
go ahead.
You went to Anderson University?
I did.
Okay, so there, you're the best receiver to ever come out there. I think, are you the only one that's ever been drafted thus far from that university to the NFL?
I am.
And I know you're in the Hall of Fame. Tell us what it was. I mean, did you go there as a track star first and then came into football, or what's the story about Anderson University with you?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what happened. Coming out of high school, I was a running back, and I was the second leading rusher in the state of Ohio. I think I had 1,600 yards for the year, and I don't know what touchdowns, but nobody wanted me because I was 145 pounds. So all the colleges told me I was too little to play, and they weren't in anything like that. So I actually ended up just going to Anderson University to run track out in Indiana, not the one in South Carolina. And went to Anderson for 5 years. So my first 2 years, I just ran track, and I just missed playing the game. I mean, I didn't go to a great team. They were 0-10 the year first year I was there that I didn't play. They were, I forget what their record it wasn't like they were some football power. I just loved to play the game and missed it. And asked the coach if I could, come out and try out for the team. And he said, yeah. And then he never called me or told me when the practices started or nothing like that. I was working at General Motors and in the summers to help pay my schooling and working there. And I had to go register for classes, and I drove up there, and daggone, the football team was out there practicing. I'm like, what in the world's going on? And so I went to him, and I started in the parking lot, and I just sat there for a minute. I said, do I really want to do this or not? I was kind of ticked off. They didn't even call me or let me know. And I said, no, I'm going to go. I asked him, he said, yeah, if you can be here tomorrow morning for practice, and you can. If not, don't worry about it. And so I had to go home that night. I worked my third shift at GM, told him I was done that night, but I had to head back to college, got back up to school about 3 a.m, and it was out at practice at 6. And then everything kind of fell in place.
Wow.
Yeah, and Brad holds a plethora of records for that school. And again, like I said, he's been the only NFL player that's been drafted from that school. And then that being said, when you were selected in the draft, how did that make you feel the moment you heard your name being called or you were called for that draft?
There's another big story because I broke my ankle in my 7th game of my senior at Anderson. I had a steel plate and 7 screws put in it. And up to that point, Mel Kiper and them we're talking about I was going to be the sleeper in the draft and, all this stuff and go in the top 3 rounds. And then I broke my ankle and, I went to the combine and ran really slow because I'd only been out of my cast for like 3 weeks. So I didn't even have full motion in my ankle. But I felt like I had to perform because here they guy from a little small school. They only had 300 guys that came back then. So I took somebody's position from a bigger school that pay a lot of money for that kind of stuff. So my agent felt like, I kind of in a catch-22. If I didn't show up, I was screwed. If I did, and I didn't perform well, it might hurt, but I felt like I had to go. So it really actually worked out to be a blessing because Buffalo wasn't going to draft a receiver real high that year anyway. And the fact that happened, then it let me land to what I consider the best opportunity I had to go to a team that I love and a fan base that I love, and going to Buffalo and back then it wasn't on TV because I was in the 8th round, so I was sitting by the phone for hours and hours for days waiting to get a phone call, and then finally I got it, and it was and Marv was on the phone, Marv Levy, and he welcomed me to the team, and then I talked to Bill Polian and and he welcomed me to the team and all that. And then I got put on with the agent to get my tickets to fly out and all that kind of stuff. So all my family, my mom, my dad, my brother, we were all there. My girlfriend at the time, my wife was there. We all jumped in the car, drove up to the local mall and bought a bunch of Buffalo Bill hats.
Nice. Would you believe now they just give them to you?
Yeah, I know. More, nowadays they give it to you.
I think if you're sitting at home, you have all 32 teams in front of you, and now you just pick it up.
Yeah.
Jared, there's an interesting fact. Brad Lamb was the first at his college to ever come in and practice already having a 401k started. Get it because he was already employed by.
I get it. Yeah, it was funny before you explained it. Thanks.
Sometimes I have to do that. I got 3 kids.
He knows me way too well. I mean, he knows me well. So
what are you guys, brothers or something?
Twin brothers.
Get that, bro? Did you get? Okay, let me explain it to you. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Marv Levy made the call. That's cool.
Yeah, I can't imagine the feeling that you had when that phone call came in, and it was the Bills. I mean, what year were you drafted again? 90, 91?
Yeah, 91.
So they had already been a team that was established and coming up in the ranks and a good team, and you were, getting a call from them. Oh boy.
I can tell you a story and you guys not get mad at me.
Sure.
Fire away.
You're not gonna get upset with me.
Promise.
When I went to Anderson, obviously I wasn't thinking, with the NAIA Division III school, I was going to be playing professionally. But I didn't even really understand that there was a Buffalo Bills team until they went to the Super Bowl the year before,
This expansion team made the Super Bowl? That's crazy.
Yeah. No, I'm not mad at you at all. I mean, I think it's like a similar similar path to what we have now. There was like 17 years of like nothing, and now all of a sudden people are, oh yeah, there's a team in Buffalo. Oh yeah.
Fun about it, and then you go there and you just fall in love with the city and with the people and the fans. And it's just like, it was just amazing. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better story, that happened to me and to be there and not only go there, then I went to 3 Super Bowls with them.
Yeah, damn right.
First, I'm trying. Why is it so hard to get there? The only hard part's winning the thing.
Yeah, this is easy.
So going off that, Brad, were you kind of annoyed when you went to Green Bay in '95, and then your teammate Don Beebe in '96 goes there and wins the Super Bowl? Was that kind of something that he holds over you, or?
Well, we haven't talked about that, but we might. I blew my knee out, and I was just working out on my own in their indoor facility in the off season, and blew my knee done, and pretty much never got back to where I needed to be, and retired. And then Don comes the next year, and they win the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I mean, I like Don though. I'm glad for him that he was able to, that to happen. The person you really think about is Mike Lotus that got all the other rings too. Leaving there, and what did he go to? Total 6 maybe, I think it was.
Oh yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
Crazy.
Ellen wants me to make sure that everybody knows that she has a Brad Lamb jersey. I'm pretty sure I already said that, Ellen, but I'll say it again just for you because I love you.
Appreciate that very much.
Doug says, was there a team that you liked growing up?
Yeah, well, you guys would ask me these kind of questions. I grew up in Cincinnati, so obviously I was a Cincinnati Bengals fan. So that whole thing that happened this year kind of hit home with me, with everybody and the whole situation. And, I felt like they treated everybody well, there. So I was proud of the city of Cincinnati for taking care of them and, just doing what they need to do, be hospitable and all that. And I can't thank them enough for that. So Cincinnati was the team, later on when I was real young, it was the Dallas Cowboys, back with Tom Landry, which I thought was one of the best coaches to coach. I loved that guy. And so Roger Staubach back then, I'm not telling my age, but that back there, that was probably Tony Dorsett, back in the day. But then of course, as you get older and you got to root for your hometown city. So Cincinnati became the team that I pulled for.
There you go. I got a follow-up question to that, Brad. I know you were running back in high school, came into college, and you told us about that little bit of story. But when you became a wide receiver, being like 5'9", 5'10", you weren't 145 pounds. You like gained weight, like 175, were you something like that? Who did you watch and who did you emulate to try to figure out what style wide receiver? You had the speed, obviously, but was there anybody that you watched specifically, same size, same speed, that you paid attention to and took some things from while you were learning the position?
I would say, it's going to sound really bad, but no, because I think I was so ignorant that I didn't.
It doesn't happen.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
I love the honesty. Yeah, that's amazing.
No, that's good.
The position I was in, and so I loved the game, so I watched it. But life just wasn't just football. I mean, strong family ties with my dad. My dad was my hero. He unfortunately died at 60 of a massive heart attack, but he was a guy that I looked up to, and if you want to say idolized or whatever, he was my hero, and he was a great athlete. He got a full ride to go play football out of high school and ended up getting married and going to work, and didn't go. And of course, back then that was, a crazy thing to do, I guess, but he was a great athlete. So, his work ethic, I think I got a lot of that from him. I never saw him miss a day of work.
Mm-hmm.
And o'clock in the morning, heading off to the steel mill, and it's just what he did. Fight for his family, and never complained about it. And, loved his family, and so I take a lot of that from him. So I wouldn't say there was any. I mean, I like to watch a lot of the guys, back then, Stallworth, and the duo there in Pittsburgh playing, Lynn Swan might have been. I just love the way the guy could just catch a ball any way in the air. But I would say probably my biggest negative when I came into the league was I probably wasn't a great route runner. I got open because of my speed more than anything else. Of course, that slimmed down. Things happened a lot faster than it did in Anderson and Buffalo. So then I tried to take my game, behind, Andre and BB and, and Lofton and pick those guys, watch what those guys did and how they worked and how they worked the jugs machine and, what they did. I wish I'd have learned. I wish I'd have picked up on some of that even faster. I think my development there was good, but I think it could have even been better if I would have understood what I really needed to be doing, instead of just taking maybe my speed for granted a lot of the time. So I'd like to tell a lot of young kids, when you get there, there's so much to do and so much to learn, and the way you got to come into camp in shape, what you do in the off season is so important. You don't have time to get in shape at camp. I mean, if you're not in shape when you get there, then you're not going to be there. I mean, you're going. So there's a lot of things I look back on now that I would have liked to have known. When I was younger, that maybe some of the guys that go to the bigger schools are probably taught.
Right.
They're coaching at that level. And so I do have a few regrets when it comes to that.
Oh, I get it. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, not for nothing, Brad, but any 22, 23, 24-year-old, I mean, even if you're going, no matter what profession you're going into, you think you're invincible and you think you got the answers. So that's just the way it is. That's the way life is everywhere. So, I mean, thank you for that story. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Great insight. Our friend John says, coming into a Super Bowl team, how did you handle the pressure that you may have felt as far as like coming into a team that had already been to a Super Bowl?
Good question, because that's where I really talk about the players on that team. You talk about the Steve Taskers, and you talk about the Pete Metzlars and the James Loftons and Andre Reeds and, the Don Beebes. Those guys, made you feel at home. They make you feel like you were an outcast. It wasn't like you knew you were competing for jobs, but they didn't make it feel like, they weren't willing to help you. And Jim, I felt like taking me under his wing as well. I remember the first pass that Jim threw to me in camp. And it was just a simple little 12-yard hook route, and he threw it and it just went right through my hands. I mean, it just split my hands. I was not used to catching a ball where somebody could actually throw it hard. I mean, my quarterback, fortunately, had a hard time throwing it 25, 30 yards, so there wasn't a lot of heat on the ball, coming out of college. So where the jugs machine for me came into play, because I cranked that sucker up 60, 70 mile an hour, and then I just stand 2 or 3 feet and I just burned my hands up. And so I could just start getting the feel for, the way the ball was going to start coming in. And, but the players there that were already there, and a lot of them had strong faith, and good Christian men that just, they were just good to be around. And I think that's what elevated the team for so many years. I wouldn't say nobody, but most of them were willing to help you learn. They weren't saying, well, if I teach this guy something, he might take my job. Well,
Yeah.
Oh, they were there to help. And that's a testament to them.
That's awesome. I feel like, I don't know, Mark has said similar things on the show before. And
Nate Turner has
Yeah.
Nate Turner has said the same thing too. So
and it just makes me feel good that locker room is exactly the way that I pictured it when I was a kid watching you guys play, like hoping that it was that, you know what I mean? And then getting to talk to you guys and hear these stories, and oh man, it just makes me feel so good. And
so
it's
it's different because you hear about the bickering Bills of the late 80s and how they were fighting with each other, and Jim calls Thurman out and Thurman calls Jim out. And then in the 91, 92, 93 season, all of a sudden, like we had Nate turn around last week, and now Brad this week, that came in after the bickering Bills have disappeared, and the whole dimension of the team has gone away from that, but now it's more welcoming. And hey, if we're going to get someplace, we have to work as a team and not be fighting with each other. So it's cool to hear you guys talk about how they're open, and they didn't get, in any other job, if you tell someone a secret about how to do something, you might lose your spot. Where this Buffalo Bills team, after the 90 season or 89 season, they're telling each other how to maneuver better, move better, pick up this key, do that thing to make the team better and the whole team better rather than just the individual to be, successful. So that's awesome.
Yeah, they were good. And see, what's hard to realize, and I think what most people don't understand too, is the way contracts are laid out. If I would have made it to, the Pro Bowl, I would have got $500,000 bonus. If I would have caught 88 passes, I would have got a $50,000 bonus, or whatever the case may be. I probably had 50 different incentives in there of different things that I could have done to get, extra money or whatever you want to call it. Well, everybody has that. So you've got your receivers, all of them starting, wanting to catch, the balls because they're going to get a bonus for so many balls being caught, so many touchdowns, that kind of thing. So when you get in the middle of the game, it's very easy for your ego to take place. Man, I got to average catching at least 5 catches a game to get my bonus. I've only got 3. Jim, you got to throw me 4 today, instead. Double cover me. I know you got to throw it on the other side, even though might not make my bonus. We got to win the football game. And I think to me, that was the biggest reason why Buffalo was so successful, because we had more guys on that team that was more motivated by winning than they were about their incentive with their paycheck. And that's hard. I mean, let's be honest, you're talking you're talking millions of dollars. Back then, maybe not that much, but guys got to put that on the back burner and say, you know what, we got to go down here first and foremost and win the football game. That's the main goal. Everything else then just cake or icing on the cake.
Yeah. And as a wide receiver, that's hard with wide receivers like James Lofton, Andre Reed, Steve Tasker, Don Beebe, Brad Lamb. You were on that roster in 92, Al Edwards. Ain't no one reaching their incentives that year because that's plenty of ball to hand out to everyone. And
Don't forget Thurman,
Metzelars, McKellar, Thurman, all those guys. I mean, no one's reaching that 88 catch.
As they're signing the contract, they're just laughing because they know all the talent. This isn't going to happen.
We're going to give you $5 million. Yeah, okay. I'll reach that mark.
I'm coming in as rookie, and I make the Pro Bowl. I get $100,000. Okay, yeah, all right, thanks.
Who's in front of me? What?
Hall of
Famers? Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're rolling up on 9 o'clock. This has been a really great hour. What we like to do here at Brad is go around and kind of do a final thought. If there's anything that you want to push as far as a charity or any of your social media or anything you got going on, feel free to do that. And we just kind of go around the circle, and I'll start with you. And I'll start by saying it was absolute pleasure, and we can't wait to have you back if you'd like to come back on.
I'd come back anytime you wanted. I've had a ball tonight, and I don't really want to push any charity, anything like that. For me, to you guys, and to Bills Mafia and Buffalo fans all around, I just want to thank them for giving me an experience, basically some of the best times of my life that I look back on with me and my wife. And my first daughter was born in Buffalo, and so I got a lot of great memories and a lot of great feelings towards Buffalo and you guys and the fans. So let me just say thank you to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Brad.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. We got Rob saying thanks for sharing your stories and experience. Please come back soon. Paul Rossi saying Brad was great. Thanks for having him on. Thank you so much, Brad. Jared, you're next in line, buddy. What do you got for a final thought?
Yeah. Once again, Brad, thanks for coming on. This has been, simply amazing show. And we have players come on, throughout the year. And we love not only hearing just your basic talk about football, but the stories that you guys tell. It's just simply amazing. Just the little nuggets about, just simple things. And then even throwing your family in there and how this is how your family started, your wife and your kids. It's just simply amazing because we're all family guys and it's awesome. I'm glad to be back with the K-Gun Report. We had 2 weeks there where we had to, we weren't here. Now we're home. So I'm glad Swank's back with the tech stuff, and it was a great show. I'm all over the place, but I can't wait to talk next week, Buffalo Bills football with everybody. And Brad, I can't wait to have you on in the near future.
We got Lonnie Cook saying awesome show. We got Doug saying thanks, man. It's been an awesome hearing from you. Patrick Hughes comes in with the question of the hour right at midnight, the stroke of midnight. And he says, Brad, quick question, blue cheese or ranch, sir?
Blue cheese, right?
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Right.
Yeah, that's blue cheese. Thanks, Patrick. Ellen says, great to see you, Brad. Scooter Magooter, final thought. What do you got, my buddy?
Brad, real quick, favorite route to run?
All to go route.
Go route. Gotcha. Yep.
He's a quick guy. You got to.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
too far- the slant route's not too far behind it.
Right. Especially if you can get that guy in a press and beat him, then it's just open freaking field, isn't it?
Those safeties,
I'm coming from a guy that played football in high school with a love to go further. And, you don't get the stories, you don't get the inside details about what goes on in college and in the pros because it's so rare. The 1% makes it to the college, and then the 1% of that makes it to the pros. And this is why, Brad, I'm so glad you joined the show, and you bring an insight to people that would have loved to make it that far, but just can't. And then to hear the stories just kind of makes you feel good that the NFL is a good place. The locker room is a wonderful place to go to. And it's such a good place to be, especially when you have great teammates. And for those that can't advance, they want to know that stuff still happens. And it's awesome to hear the inside stories. And it's just, I can't wait to have you on again. I will mention, we do have a donation raffle, guys. The Leap of Faith donation raffle we started a month back. We were a bit on a hiatus there a little bit, but it will continue this week. We will spin the Fandemonium Wheel of Destiny to see who wins the prizes. I have the prizes right here. We have a canvas signed by James Lofton, Thurman Thomas, Freddie Jackson, Gabe Davis, and Willis McGahee. And then I have this signed Josh Allen jersey. And the Leap of Faith Found donation raffle is $10 a spot. You can donate as many times as you want. We'll run it for another week. Like I said, we're going to spin that Fandemonium Wheel of Destiny to find out who wins this sweet merchandise next week. Jim Kelly. So thanks to all that have already donated. Wonderful thing. Brad, we had a close family friend of mine that lost their house in a total loss house fire. So the donation's been doing wonderful. We're up to $930, which is pretty sweet. So I will put out a
That's
post
awesome.
later today and tomorrow to see if we can't bring some more in. But thanks to everyone that's helped donate. And again, Brad, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was awesome.
absolutely.
Fandemonium, thank you so much for hanging with us here tonight. We know it's the off season. We know that it can get a little daunting waiting for this draft to come up, waiting for OTAs, waiting for training camp, waiting for the season. And what we try to do is keep you engaged. We try to bring in great guys like Brad to keep it pumping, because me and the twins here are ridiculously crazy about the Buffalo Bills all year round. And I thank you so much for being a part of tonight's show. I thank you so much for supporting Buff Fanbase and 26shirts.com, and also for checking out our site and being involved in all of our social media. Of course, you can always find us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here for the K-Gun Report. And also, you're going to be able to check us out on some other platforms very soon. They're going to be expanding and opening up, and we'll be wider, more available, whatever you want to say. Yeah. Brad, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you. And anytime you want to come be a part of the show, we would love to have you. And it's just been great insight. I know I'm beating a dead horse saying it, but I'll say it again just because I like to. Guys, have a great night. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.